What up? It's your boy Corporate Dave, and you're watching Day Beyond TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And today, man, today, first of all, shout out to all the Scorpios, yo. It's Scorpio season now. We getting into it. Yeah, we still got some cuspy energy to deal with. So with a cusp, if you're not familiar, just understand cusp energies is like when you look at the zodiac signs and stuff. If you got cusps, which is you on 0 degrees, 1 or 2 degrees, or 29 and 28 degrees of a sign, you're considered a cusp, which means you're a combination of both energies, right? And you have to take this in consideration when it comes to the type of element that these two energies create. And see, this is why it's real dope to have a firm understanding of the fundamentals, about, or things that, because when you're starting to look deeper into astrology, really, you can learn a lot just by understanding the elements involved and the modalities that the signs carry. So you know that for this one, just as an example, the we got Libra on one end, and we like the sun is like 1 degree Scorpio. So you got Libra on one end, and you got Scorpio on the other end, right? So this is water, fixed water to be exact, and this is cardinal air. So you have a situation right here where these two elements together, when you get water and air together, what's this? It's like cloud energy, right? The type of cloud it is the modalities. So you have cardinal air. So the air is moving, and you got fixed water. So heavy rain. You know what I'm saying? So heavy rain, fixed water, it's like a storm. So internally, could feel like a storm where you're starting to accumulate passion about certain things going on, right? You might start to feel some sort of intensity. Now, on a positive end, right, if you've been planting good seeds, or you're just in a good place with yourself where you kind of have a grip on where you want to be at, you might not be where you want to be at, but you have the mentality that is appropriate for the situation you in, where you have a perspective where you can look at yourself and you're like, you know what, I know what I'm finna do. You know what I'm saying? I might not have it all together, but I know what I'm about to do. If you have, that's like being on the more the positive end. And it's good to understand that, just because you wake up with this kind of mentality, because sometimes we wake up with certain mentalities already that we have to deal with. This is why it's good in the when you first open your eyes in the morning to really take some time for yourself to just talk to God, really. And talking to God is nothing more, nothing less than you in some form of meditation, where you start to cut out all thoughts, so that you can open yourself up to all possibilities. And this is how you start a dialogue with God. God is the space of all possibilities. So when you let go of all of the Lucifer thought forms, right? And by Lucifer, I just mean by these things, mentalities that we cling on to that are correlated with our desires, right? When you first wake up, the first thing on your mind might be, what's been going on in the world. So you jump right into, trying to see what somebody else is talking about. You jump right into somebody else's mind. You got to understand that your urge to jump into the world, like, I don't want to, because the whole point is not to demonize social media and shit. All these things are tools. Like, I like to look at the time period we in now is the one you chose. So don't look at all this technology as something to go that's up against you. Use it as your advantage. Like, there's amazing things we can do now that we can jump online and talk to somebody across the world real fast. Even me having the ability to upload these videos, and the fact that y'all can understand what I'm saying, and we can all put our minds together and really build. There's so many different things we can do online. But when you adopt a certain perspective about the technology around you and start to demonize it, you start to miss out on the opportunities of the present. You know what I'm saying? God didn't say run away from life. God said just understand and utilize these things to keep expanding, not use these things to confine yourself into one way of doing something, or try to impose your way on other people. And actually, even conversations like that, look, it's all possibilities out here. So I don't even want to say that when it starts to come to those conversations, it's like it's really deep, because it's like, when you really think about it, is anyway, what I'm saying? I don't want to go too far down that line of thought, but for the most part, I want to keep this on what we're talking about. But for the most part, to wrap that up, it's just that You got to do what's best for you. That's really the essence of it. You got to do what's best for you. But you got to find that through all possibilities. So that be your conversation with God. When you can, sometimes we need to cleanse ourselves. And the first thing you do when you wake up is very important, because it sets the tone of your day. Like I was saying before, sometimes we go to sleep with things on our mind. We go to sleep with things on our heart, and these things turn into dreams. We have dreams about these things, and they become, pockets of our psyche that we don't even recognize. And we start to attach our identity to these things. We start to think we are these certain ways of looking at the world. You start to adopt the labels that were already pre-made for you, when you don't have to adopt none of that. And the reason, this becomes an issue is because, like I said, we wake up, we internalize these things, and we wake up one day, and these be the days where, there's certain heaviness on your mind and heart. You have a certain heaviness with you, where you feel a certain pressure that it just, the way it starts your day, be very, it doesn't be the best start for your day. It leads you down a certain line of events that take you a couple steps back. Those days that we have where we don't know how to muster up the strength to keep going in what we want to do. And again, we have to be stronger as spirits to know that, if you want to do something, fuck all the complications, fuck up everything that come before that, fuck all the anxiety and the depression and the doubt behind what you want to do. Go out and do it. And that's that conversation with God, because that conversation gives you the strength. It reminds you, oh, I am possible. You know what I'm saying? God made it possible, so I am possible. It gives you that extra, I don't want to call it passion. I don't want to call it all these different things. It's not even so much. It gives you the mentality that's appropriate enough to actually go and do something that God hasn't seen before. And that's when you start to reach a space where it seems like no matter what you do, it's like those times where everything is just in sync. And it's not to say that things become perfect once you align yourself and stuff like that. No, it's an uphill battle every day. Every day we go through certain things that show us what we have to learn, and it's a constant learning process. But the whole thing is like, you could be on the more positive end of energy, where it feels more so, you have more experiences that go in your favor, that feel like an inspiration, rather than more experiences that feel like you're wasting your time. And this is where we find ourselves in jobs that we hate, and we have to settle for majority of our time. We have to it feels like we're selling out. That's when you really you feel like you're selling out, when you have to lend a generous amount of your day towards some bullshit, something that's not actually changing the world for the better. And changing the world for the better is just you having your own individuality, that because that's all God really wants, is for us to share our space, share our space, and offer something new to the mix, so it can expand, all possibilities. It wants to play out that through you. That's how God comes to you as a vessel. So to access that ability, that's when miracles happen. That's when we talk about, oh, miracles happening. It's when we start to access those spaces. And the only way we can get to those spaces is through certain conversations we have with ourselves, certain commitment we have to ourselves to release a lot of these things that keep our mind blocked. But like I said, some days you wake up and it just be a heaviness on your mind and heart, and you wonder why, and before you know it, again, it be so subtle. And sometimes, again, a lot of us are on a schedule with our jobs and our lives, that the first thing we do when we wake up, we already worried we're going to be late. So we have to rush to do this. We run to the bathroom, and we got so many things racing through our mind, like what we finna do, who we finna talk to, how the day's finna go, what might be things to be aware of, all these different things that we adopt as mentalities that clog up the essence of what we, again, the silence. That silent space helps you come to a conclusion on what your intention for the day is. It helps you come to a conclusion on what the energies are really telling you, and how you need to move and operate throughout the day. It's like we might be moving so fast, you got so many things on your mind, you're not clear, and we go through too much time in our lives not being clear on what we want, what we are thinking, what we are actually feeling, not just the feelings that hit us. Because you wake up, again, you might just wake up, say you got a certain presentation to do that day, already you have a certain emotional vibration depending on your feelings and insecurities on that, you know. Then on top of that, you got the different relationships you have in your life, you know, people you have in your life that care about you, you care about them, but because you're in a certain mood, you in a certain space, you give off a certain energy that affects them, you know. And then now you have a you accumulate certain things that lead, again, we always putting energy out and you get that energy right back, you know. You in this certain energy, and it's like, again, you just by you being in that vibration, you push off a certain energy, your partner catch some of that, but you're not even aware of the space you in. You just trying to get to work, you worry, you late, you worried about this presentation, you get there, it's over, you know. You settle down in the day, now you thinking, oh, today was a pretty good day. You come home, that energy's right there waiting for you, because you don't know what you set off as a line of emotion, a line of events for somebody else based upon the space you in. And this is where we have to take accountability, but at the same time, you know, we're not necessarily here to care about everybody else's feelings. And that's a really good segue into the Scorpio energy. Is like, you know, that's the transition we in. So I was talking about it being a storm cloud, right? Cardinal air and fixed water. So this, you know, that fixed water is this deep emotion that we got, our true intentions, our deep intentions, our deep passions. The air element is movement, so this storm is like moving, you know. It's like it's heavy water that you know are moving around with. So the whole idea is, you know, transmutation, right? When you talk about Scorpio energy, it's about transmutation. It's about taking all that passion you feel, all that stormy weather, and putting it towards something that actually can benefit you rather than hurt you. Hurt you is more so when you look to hurt others based upon your hurt, when you look to manipulate others based upon what you feel you don't have or access to. Using it for a benefit is to take this passion to actually change something in your life, to convert that anger, frustration into something creative that can actually put you in the position that you want to be in, rather than looking at everybody as if they're the reason why you can't get to that position. That makes you more snake-like, that makes you more wanting to be deceptive and wanting to hurt others, you know, maybe not always physically, but, you know, maneuver throughout others where there's a certain, you know, ulterior motive that you're carrying, that, you know, again, like I said before in my earlier analogy, when I was just talking about, you know, or example, when I was talking about coming home and your partner or giving a, you know, you by, you know, when you don't address some of this energy, it's like you have a certain energy you give off. This is like the aura. This is where you have this fixed emotion, you know, a fixed emotion that you're too heavy in. It brings you down, and other people can feel that. Now, how other people decipher it, the reason why you shouldn't care too much about how other people decipher, you know, other people's feelings about your shit, because sometimes, see, that it's like a double-sided thing. You have to be aware of the energy you're getting given off, but you don't necessarily have to be worried and concerned about how it affects other people. So, you know, this is how you take accountability. You take power control over your own vibe, and you're less concerned about, you know, other people might not always receive your vibe the best way. Now, the whole thing is like, it's just you having enough energy to be yourself and not care too much. Like, that's how much you shouldn't care. Just enough to be yourself, you know, because how you feel is how you feel regardless. But at the same time, also being aware of what energy what type of energy you give off. You know, this helps you not be such a reckless person, or a person who's just, you know, opposing or negative for the sake of it. You know, a person who's unconcerned about feelings for the sake of it, you know. And that's when it starts to become distasteful, starts to become, you know, seeming like you're too cold, or, you know, when you're doing it because, again, you're actively going out your way to disregard somebody's feeling. But at the same, it's like, but if that's who you are, that's who you are. Like, the real essence of it is just not being so concerned that you can't be yourself, meaning that if you do feel something, you should be willing to stand on that and be, you know, be that, and let somebody know when they're crossing a boundary. You have to open up your mouth and, you know, say what you need to say, and you know, but you don't have to go out your way, for instance, just to be opposing, because sometimes certain individuals, we be in a certain space where we were hurt in a certain way, so we go out our way to hurt others or make it seem like we disregard others' feelings, where again we actually secretly do care about their feelings, and we actually kind of are trying to like make them feel responsible for certain pain and hurt that we carrying. You know what I'm saying? So we have to always be aware of the space we coming from, and make sure again you just being yourself. You're not necessarily choosing to disregard somebody's feelings. I just wanted to say that as a little somewhat of a disclaimer, because when it comes to this energy, it's important to be aware of, like, you know, that Scorpio energy gets tricky, because it starts to become a thing where again it can easily become paranoia, where you think everybody's out to get you, or you think everybody is up to something. And you know, a lot of times you might actually be up to something even if you're unaware. Like there might be certain things you're trying to get out of a certain situation that's even the reason why you're looking at a situation a certain way, and certain things are highlighted. So this really comes into the square that Scorpio is going to have with Saturn and Aquarius, because in order to operate and move within or amongst our associations, we need to make sure that we're not carrying too much heaviness to certain things. You know, if we're here to build, we need to learn how to associate ourselves without so much heavy attachment to deep things that we haven't, you know, dealt with. You know, I was speaking about that a little bit in that previous video, but a lot of it, you know, in order to move amongst our associations, we have to lighten that energy up. We have to chill out on, you know, specifically when it comes to building with our associates and just operating and moving within the social arenas. You know, when it comes to, you know, this doesn't mean being too chatty about, you know, because there are certain things that we need to make sure we keep to ourselves. But you know, making sure that we do some kind of balancing act where we don't carry too much of this heaviness into our associations, where now people can catch a sense from us. And on the vice versa, like I was saying about paranoia, you're not looking at every association like they're up to something. You know, you're able to associate yourself and really even put yourself in a position where you don't even necessarily have to be as vulnerable. You know, that's the thing. You want to put yourself in a position where it's simply an exchange. You know, if you're exchanging information that's needed, not information that goes too far or is too deep, secrets, gossip, all these different things that put you in a position to be looked at like, you know, again, you carrying some kind of heaviness or something on your mind. Hold on. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind with the Saturn square. Saturn is now direct, so you know, this is us taking things a little more serious. So leave falling. Yeah, so you got, you know, this is gonna have us all really take ourselves more serious and even take our associations more serious. So during that retrograde period, we were really honing in on what makes sense when it comes to our associations. And you know, some of us might have had to separate ourselves to get more individuality on how we wanted to approach our associations. You know, and some of us, again, we were testing out different things with different individuals, seeing what worked, you know, really asking ourselves, you know, is this working for me? Is this something that I can see longevity in, as far as something we can continue to build on? Something that could be sturdy, structured, and help with my stability, provide me with resources and a network. You know, we've been trying to iron out how we actually want to correlate our network. Now with Saturn direct, a lot of these situations are going to present themselves as new opportunities, being that we're moving into this new moon, right? So the new moon is really with the Scorpio energy, like I was saying before, about transmutation. We have to change how we feel depending on the area of life. This is going to be the area in which we're going to have to undergo a deep change, you know, a deep change, almost damn near go to war with a previous feeling about how we were going about our lives in that area. So and then it's going to be very transformative, because you know, we got Venus there, so our values are going through a massive change. Really, this is like the death of previous values. You know, you have to look at previous values, previous things that you did value, or you know, that's on the negative end. If you've been manifesting certain things, or you see the result of what you've manifested, and you see that you've been participating in certain desires, you know, certain pleasures that you were taking a little too much credence from, you was looking at too much to run your life. This is where a massive transformation needs to happen, because if you don't, you're not going to be taking the power control over the things that you are, you're gonna more so overindulge. We need to take power control back when it comes to our values, what we participate in, as far as things that pleasure us, and what we because pleasures can be the pleasures can be the same thing that actually lead us to areas and spaces that we don't have no business in. Venus can lead us right into something that turns into an illusion that we are too deep in. When you talk about the exaltation of Venus, this is like that Pisces energy. It leaves you lost at sea. You don't want to get lost at sea when it comes to anything, really. You want to make sure that you staying grounded on some level. So when it comes to Venus in Scorpio, it's gonna make our desire for these pleasures extreme. So we have to really put these things in check. We have to make sure that we're and honestly, one thing to note about this this energy, and again, it goes back to what I was saying about the cusp energy, even being a storm cloud. This energy is going to be intense, and it's really more so about facing the uncomfortable energy. It's important to note that Scorpio is going to be opposite Uranus and the North Node as well. So when it comes to Uranus, it's like we've been having this conversation with Uranus for the longest. We've been having this conversation with even the North Node in Taurus for the longest. So at this point, it's really, we have to go to war with ourselves to push us in this space to actually get to change. We have to really transform ourselves so that we can get our lives going. I feel like a lot of what we've been doing really, it was really highlighted in Virgo season. Get your shit together, right? That get your shit together turned into really getting your mind together. It turned into like getting yourself together. It was like, get your shit together, so start to plan and plot, right? In Virgo. Then in Libra, it turned into all right, identity things. Let me get myself together. Who am I? And then that who am I, how do I relate? Who should I relate with? And then going, the extra mile to establish new relationships, either with yourself and how you talk to yourself, or relationships with actual people outside of you, or finding better ways to relate your gifts and talents, because we was dealing with that Venus energy. So finding different ways to relate with our own values, establish new values for ourselves, and then relate these values, and us having an eye on who we should value and who we should communicate with, who we should build with. So now that we've gotten ourselves together, now it's like we have to take the leap. We have to take the plunge into the abyss, and without fear in our heart. We have to look at this shit like, no, it's life or death. It's either me or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's either me or I'm really gonna lose my life to it's like us losing our lives as far as like how we want them. If we don't take the fight now and take it to the head, like we don't cut the head off the snake now, it's like we are going to let this thing become something that we cannot handle. And it's like, I don't like to speak in spookism like that, because it's always going to be something that we can do to make the most out of our lives. But the thing about it is, right now is such a pivotal time. It's like you're not going to have the same access to energy as you do right now. In this moment in time, it's like it's really about, again, Uranus just brings this massive change. So it's like, and then the North Node, your spiritual path, it's like this ain't the season to play around. This is the season where we have to really be about our business. We got to stand on business for real. We got to look at this shit and be like, nah, like, if I want my life to change, like the Scorpio energy is the energy that's going to get you there. So it's like a lot of us that have been on the path of planting the right seeds. We've been, fighting and grappling with a lot of these changes for a while now. And it's pivotal now because, again, of all the things that's going all the things that's going direct, all these outer planets, Saturn now direct. It's a lot more serious now. It's a lot more at stake. And the thing about Saturn is, when Saturn goes direct, right, there's a period of time. Saturn always gives you time to prepare. And then Saturn provides a test. That test is like just the reality of the situation, when you come to grips with your inability to do something anymore, like a restriction. Like, it's almost like when you realize, like, for instance, right, you was in school for a certain amount of time, right? And while you were in school, there were certain clubs and stuff like that. You had opportunities to participate in certain things. That's the time, that's that window. Then there comes a certain time, right, where this would be the test, right? But in this case, in this analogy, it's like you graduate. All of a sudden, everything that you didn't do in that previous space to prepare you for this next after post graduation life, you no longer have access to. It's restricted from you now. Now you have to take what you got and make the most out of what you're doing. And it's like, you know, Saturn is very real. It'll sit you right there and say, well, look, I can't help you. You had all the time in the world to set yourself up. And what you did accumulate, that's good for you. What you didn't accumulate, hey, it is what it is. And Saturn leaves you right there to work with what you got. And you know, coming off the retrograde, it's a fresh period. So right now it's like, understand that through the square, the learning process between the sun and Saturn, we have to put ourselves in a position. You know, we have to navigate, we have to put ourselves in a position, right? We're dealing with Scorpio energy, our deep passions. And then keep in mind, Mars is finna go retrograde. So, and Mars is currently squaring Neptune and Pisces, and eventually a little bit probably of the Jupiter in Pisces. Maybe not directly, but energetically, where you have Gemini energy, the Mars being a Gemini, and those energies being in Pisces, dealing with our dreams. Now the sun is trying in Neptune, and it's trying in Jupiter. So when it comes to our experiences, we're looking at it. We're looking at it for what it is. We have the gift right now to actually see our experiences. Now our experiences are looking more dreamlike. Our experiences are looking like everything we could have ever imagined to go right, and everything we could imagine to go wrong. Scorpio is going to give it a dark tint. But that dark tint, this is where the learning process comes in. We have to get real. Use that dark tint or that dark frame. And I say dark because it's correlated with Scorpio. It's like we have the ability to look at our dreams and actually get a deeper context for them. See, Scorpio can help out Pisces by applying Mars, direction, being specific. So our dream in Pisces was just all over the place. And it very well might be an illusion still. And this is something that you need to come to grips with as well, with yourself. I did not even see that card pull up right there. But you know, there's things we have to come to grips with ourselves. But see, Scorpio provides that Piscean energy with being specific, actually a direction, inspiration, and is able to manipulate those waters, right, to where they're not just so all over the place. They actually have a theme. So in a lot of ways, this sun trine Neptune time is to create a theme for yourself, create a theme for your journey at this point, you know, and really start to hone in when it comes to your dream and your goals. That, see, when we talk about Neptune dreams, because a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, I'll be dreams and imaginations, and it's like, you know, you might be like a heavy earth person and you might not even see your dreams as dreams, but really dreams are the same thing as goals. You know what I'm saying? Dreams, goals, these are things that, again, hold a certain place in our mind, our imagination, as to how great things could be. So when you look at these things, that's why, like, a lot of times when it says we're going for our dreams, a lot of these things be sounding very cliche. You know, what are we talking about when we say dreams, or when we talk about Neptune? This is everything we could have ever imagined. This is close. That's why it's close to that all possibility space. Everything we could have ever imagined, and it could be beautiful, or it could be terrifying, or it could be something that we aren't quite seeing right because we haven't yet experienced it. Now with the gift, we have a gift to experience it on some level, because we got Jupiter in the mix. You know, Jupiter coming back, and Jupiter's coming from Aries. So there's a lot that Jupiter has to say that can work with the Scorpio energy, simply because it's still cuspy with the Aries energy. So as that trine is developed, it's really a powerful pocket of energy that, if you could navigate it right, taking your dream and starting to become a lot more specific, give it a theme, and give your life, give yourself the almost spotlight. I know we're not dealing with Leo energy, but give yourself the spotlight. And this is where that trine can come in, where, you know, you can start to take power control as the main character of your life. And really, again, you're at a moment in time where you have to go to war with previous ways of feeling about what you were capable of. You have to come to new grips and develop a new feeling and transmute any frustration that's coming through, even doubt, anything that's coming through that's not looking like you on your path to success. You have to really go to war with that and commit to and dedicate yourself to being like, no, if I'm going to get there. Because the thing about it is that darkness can swallow you whole. That's the thing about Scorpio. You know, that's why they go to war with themselves, because they know the feelings be so intense that if they don't transmute, it will swallow you whole. So you have to look at your life like that. That's what I kind of mean. It's like, that's the spookism part I'm talking about. It's like this energy will swallow you whole, to where if you don't face your fears at this point, it's going to be very hard, because you're giving it on a silver platter for real. The sun being opposite Uranus, and the North Node, this is that midpoint. This is that, you know, you facing everything that, again, you on that verge of actually getting to where you want to go, but you have to beat the boss. You have to fight this boss level. You got to attack this shit and get to the next level. Because see, Uranus is still retrograde, but again, when Uranus goes direct, it's going to remember this. You know, when signs are retrograde, you gotta look at it like it's going to remember this. Because everything we do in the retrograde, it's like it's giving you a slight, not necessarily easier time to deal with something, but it's giving you room to adjust. You just have to take you have to take initiative on it though. You know, depending on what sign it is and what energy you're dealing with, it's going to tell you how to go about it. For Taurus, it's about being, you know, almost, it's being consistent with your unique way of gaining stability and your unique way of harnessing your resources, the gifts that you have to offer to the world, and how you structure those things, and how willing you are to speak and stand on that shit. That's what that's what Uranus is talking about. That's why individuality, you being your unique self, is the most powerful resources at the moment. It's the most powerful thing you can do. You being yourself, you see how far you can go just being yourself on the internet. It's crazy. It's crazy what you can do out here. But again, being a one of a kind, this is energy that really deals with just being a strong spirit in general. Because as you develop your ability to be one of a kind, again, goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. God see you now. God's like, oh, I can work through this individual and experience something that is that correlates with me, all possibilities, something we ain't never seen before. Now you look like something that everybody in your family could look at and be like, damn, I never would have thought that was possible. That person did that, you know. And right now they might be talking about you and looking at you in certain ways. And again, correlated with the Scorpio energy, we got to transmute all this, because we're going to be extra aware of what everybody might be thinking or might be feeling. We're going to be extra aware of everybody else's ulterior motives and reasons for being around us in our lives. Even if somebody is around you chilling, a partner, again, and this is where that Libra energy starts to kind of intermix, and where the cusp kind of plays out, because we're coming off the cusp of relating, being open, being vocal, open, I said open, but relating in a, you know, Venus like way, being harmonious, trying to establish relationships. Now we're starting to, you know, it's like after the honeymoon phase, like, okay, but what is this relationship really about? Who is this person for real? And, you know, we're going to have some deeper questions and more curiosities. Mars in retrograde is going to make us curious about intentions in general, our own and others, you know. And this is important. If you are not if you're not spending time being curious about your own passions and what you are truly passionate about and where you're going with your energy in that way, you're going to be highly curious and gossipy, like, to figure out other people's intentions. And this is going to fuck you up, because again, fix water, your own intentions. Scorpio, it's all about your own. Now Scorpios be peeping other people's ulterior motives, but that's where the in conjunction comes between where Mars is at and where Scorpio is at, where Gemini is at and where Scorpio is at, and where Mars is at and where the sun is at and Venus is at. Our passions can misdirect us from things that are going to get us support, You know what I'm saying? Venus is like support. So our passions, if we're not curious and figuring out the inner workings of our passions and understanding what they actually mean to us, we're gonna be very we're gonna have intentions, anger, aggression that misdirects us. Anything that we're trying to pursue as a passion is going to take us further and further away from what we need to be paying attention to, or it's going to make us confuse how to it's going to confuse us on how to it's going to confuse us on how to take action on those things, and it's going to take us further away from um gaining support from that, you know, due to your passions. Not it's like the way it play out, that's just the in conjunction energy, you know. It's like a misunderstanding. So anything by you not being curious and taking the initiative to search that and analyze that and figure out how to communicate that better, first with yourself, then others, because it's retrograde. Gemini retrograde, you need to talk to yourself and you need to talk through it. If you know say you might be too vocal, you might not be having those conversations with yourself, enough of them. And again, it's okay to talk to other people too, you know. Talk to people that you're close to, talk to people that actually are in that space with you, you know. Taking too much advice at this time might not even be a good idea, because Mars is very individualistic, and you know, Gemini is very Gemini is hands-on. Gemini can get too swayed by other thoughts, you know. Not to say that if you're a Gemini you easily swayed by people. This is just to say the energy itself, it's air, and we're dealing with a time where we're actually we need to be more focused with fixed water. So fixed water is like, that's the difference between Scorpio and Gemini. Gemini sometimes take things a little too light, so the Scorpio can't really trust the Gemini all the time. But the Gemini cool, because they help them come for or fresher breath of fresh air, and the intellect is there, you know what I'm saying. So they're intelligent, so they have good conversations. But when it comes to expectations that the Scorpio might have of intimacy or just keeping certain things concealed, the Gemini doesn't understand those restrictions, and vice versa. The Gemini you know, sometimes might feel heaviness from the Scorpio, you know, and the way they might deal with it is by trying to be extra light, trying to be extra avoidant, or you know. So it's just a misunderstanding type energy going on between those two signs. But so we got, you know, we got a lot going on, but a lot of what's going on, it has to do with transmutation. Trying to think of what else. What other planets is out here? Pluto, you know, it's going to be a sextile with Pluto. So again, opportunities, you know, and that's why, again, this is like a real good time to really change the whole trajectory of your life, you know. And that's really the new moon energy behind all this. The new moon energy is really pushing us to develop this new feeling and really tap into these deep passions. That's what I was going to say about Mars. You know, Mars is the sign that is the planet of Scorpio. So, you know, we have to pay attention to what's going on with Mars and Gemini. And that retrograde, again, is going to be us kind of on the pursuit of a clear vision on our deep intentions. Now, again, sextile with Pluto, us having an opportunity to actually take power control over our status and what we are building for ourselves. You know, like even what I was saying with bro, them hovering ass buds be annoying as hell. They just be like right here in your peripheral. But anyway, that sextile creates opportunities for you to actually take power control over how you want to structure your status, how you want to structure your life as well, what you choose to broadcast, what you have the opportunity to be known for. So again, that even takes us back to, you know, your dreams and stuff like that. What are you pursuing? What's the theme of your life? Use that theme to start to make actions, take actions on, you know, getting to that goal. You know what I'm saying? Look at that theme and look at what you're participating in, and start to pinpoint all the pieces of you that don't, or the pieces of you and all the actions you always resort to taking based upon whatever the fuck. Look at those, start to pinpoint those, and which ones don't coincide with the status you're trying to build for yourself, the life you're trying to build for yourself, which don't align with your theme, the theme that you want for your life. Those are the things you need to attack first, and you need to go to war with those. So no matter how uncomfortable it makes you feel, address these things and change these things up. And you know, it's not going to happen overnight, but this is something that we need to put into practice. And as we go to war with these things, you know, you start to emotionally, again, when you get frustrated, because it's better to correlate what's making us frustrated and uncomfortable than it is what's making us comfortable. And whatever's making us comfortable and it feels too good, those would be the first things we need to kind of put and look at with a side eye as something we might need to just switch up. You know what I'm saying? And don't switch up in the sense of like destroy your whole life or take away your support system or what makes you, because sometimes we do need a pleasure or two just to get our mind right. But the thing is, push yourself into that space that's going to make you actually, to give you enough fire, passion to actually make a change, to actually and then any frustration you do get from not, you know, any frustration you do get from that, take that and transmute that into, yeah, that's why I'm going to war on this, because as I go to war on this, it's going to adjust my life in the way I need it, because I'm taking power control. That's like the type of conversations we need to have with ourselves. And Pluto's good for that. Pluto, you know, and then even that energy itself, you know, Capricorn, Mars is exalted there. So that Scorpio energy can actually do a lot with that Saturn energy. And that also coincides with our lessons that we have to learn from Saturn and Aquarius, you know, because it's that same intensity, but it's lightened up. You know, I guess not that same intensity, but that same idea of being deeply passionate on building and structuring, but, you know, the ability, the opportunity to structure and strategize, you know, taking that same enthusiasm but with our associates. So we know that we have to make sure that we're correlating ourselves in a way that's clear, that we're communicating what is, and that we aren't so paranoid that we can't move freely amongst our organization, or you know, because when you got too much heaviness on you, it prevents you from moving. You're too paranoid. You think everybody out to get you. It's like, you have to secure yourself. You know, you have to secure yourself and put yourself in a position where you're not creating scenarios where you got to be vulnerable or open. Create scenarios where it really is all about the business and you serious about what you doing and the way you coming at it. Again, it's solid. It's no leaks. It's no, you know, and this is how, again, because right now we're experiencing that cusp energy, but eventually we're going to head into completely fixed water, where it's going to be about you and your intentions, and it's not going to have as much movement. Like right now we still got movement, and we got Mercury and Libra too, so this is going to help us even know how to relate some of these dark things. So use that opportunity, use that Libra energy, right? Use that as a gift to help you correlate with your associations, help you be relatable in those spaces, help you be harmonious in those situations enough to where you can get your point across without it being too heavy or too held back from all those deep intentions that you might be holding. You know, use that to lighten up. Find a better way to communicate some of these deeper things on your mind, and lighten these up in your own time so that it's not so heavy when you get back into the world. And then again, Mars is you got to be curious about your passions at this moment. So, you know, allow that gift to assist you in creating a new way to relate with your passions. And then in turn as well, knowing how to relate those passions amongst your associations. You can practice this. You know what I'm saying? You could practice this. And that's really what we need to do during the retrograde. You know, be mindful of it, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes, but be mindful, you know, and that's going to sextile Chiron as well. So through the mistakes, you know, but it's good mistakes simply because Chiron is in Aries. So that's that in conjunct with the sun. They share that Mars energy. So, a lot of the mistakes could be you stumbling into something that can work. And then you're going to have an opportunity from those mistakes to make even mistakes with your passions. So this, you know, again, at least it's with Mars. It's Mars that's making the sextile with Chiron. So those passions, those opportunities for mistakes when it comes to your passions are all going to be learning processes, or majority of them will be more so things you can learn from in a positive aspect, rather than things you learn from in ways in which you're now burning a bridge, or things of that nature, you know. So that's something to keep in mind, you know. That, and again, that don't mean that it's all going to be positive, but it's basically, all I'm saying is that be willing to put yourself out there to make a mistake, because the mistake honestly is better than nothing. A mistake is better than nothing, because you have the opportunities, especially right now with these energies, Chiron being the Aries and it being Scorpio season, Mars being the emphasis. Any stumbling you do could just be into a great opportunity for you, a better opportunity than what you even thought when you first got into it. So that's a beneficial, that's something that's going on in the sky right now. So that's the theme right now. Just get out there and do something, yo. Get out there and do something. Do something. Let me think. Is that everything? Sit for a moment. I've been talking nonstop for 45 minutes. God dog, man. Shout out to y'all, because y'all really be listening to me go off, man. But much love. Thank you for everybody who's been tuning in, especially the new folks. We just gonna keep on going crazy. I mean, not going crazy, but going crazy. Yo, keep on going hard with pushing this stuff out, so that we could all really start changing the world. We already been doing that, but it's important to know what's going on right now, because like I was saying before, we're going through a rigorous self-development time that's leading towards that's helping us with some of the themes that the age of Aquarius needs, which is community, coming together for real, soul group, tapping into your people and being able to connect, and us all putting our individual minds and creativity towards something that can be built and actually push forward change when it comes to all these industries. You know what I'm saying? We talk about what? Entertainment, business, politics, religion, and education type shit, where now, we got some say, we got some room to work with. And the things that we're building on, what we're choosing to initiate as far as changes, ain't bullshit. It's shit that's actually something real, something real. But yeah, I think that's about it though. Yeah, let me go through the signs again. See, Aries, nothing. Yeah, Taurus and Uranus. Talked about that opposition. Then you got Gemini, Mars there. Cancer. I don't think anything is a Cancer. I don't know what the retrograde, the asteroids are still in the same places as before. Cancer, Leo, none is in Leo, Virgo, none is in Virgo. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then Libra, coming off that energy, Scorpio, of course. Sag, nothing yet. Capricorn, Pluto, and then we got Aquarius, Saturn, Pisces. Yeah, that's about all. I had to go through the whole wheel real quick. But anyway, much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Happy new moon, and shout out to all the Scorpios.